Rhoda face because he's from Rhoda.
Right.
And like it's like one of those things like you don't know what they're trying to say, but you know what they're saying. And so I saw he tweeted about it. I was like, hey, that was a compliment. He was like, dude, I blushed. So there you go. 912 Public Auditor BJ Cruz joins us now in the KUAM News Zoom room. Good morning, BJ.
Good morning.
So I wanted to bring you on, well, just to catch up as well, but there was something that came out from the AG.
That AG opinion on, I think it was on GURA retroactive raises for the director and executive director. And
Oh, yes.
I was trying to kind of understand. So did they give out retroactive raises? Did you see the opinion?
Yes, I did.
Well, you requested it. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was provided to our office on Tuesday.
Right.
So I didn't realize Monday was a holiday and I came in.
Yeah, what did you make of it? Can you give us a layman's term explanation on
Yeah.
what exactly this opinion said? Because I read it a few times, and I wasn't sure.
The opinion, first I want to thank the Attorney General for issuing the opinion. Also commend him on it for a very well reasoned and written opinion. In it, he goes through and talks about two specific laws. One, the law as it relates to retroactive pay for unclassified employees, and he made the distinction of giving retroactive pay increases to unclassified and classified employees, and the fact that unclassifieds aren't supposed to receive retroactive pay increases unless a specific law provides for it.
Mm-hmm.
As it relates to the classified employees, they can, because there is a different statute that says that it can go back. It can be backdated, as it were, retroactive back. But he went through a fairly lengthy discussion on how and why this one should not have been. And he also pointed out another law that was in effect at the same time, that was still during FY19, and the fact that when I was still at the legislature and we had our last budget, we included a provision freezing salary increases for FY19. And we specifically and explicitly put a provision in that FY19 budget stating that at the end of the fiscal year, there is to be no effort to try to recoup for that year, because we wanted to cover. Remember during can't even remember whose administration it was. No, it was the beginning of the Calvert administration, where they gave retroactive meritorious increases back to 1995 to some people. Do you remember that?
The merit bonuses?
Yeah, the merit bonus.
No, I remember.
Yeah, and so in the FY19 budget, we specifically included a provision to try to stop that, so that there wouldn't be this, as it were, a moratorium on the payment of salary increase, and then all of a sudden it would be paid at the end of the 12-month period, retroed back. And so we put a specific clause into the budget to prohibit that. I'm going to have to ask the Attorney General now, in a separate letter. I'm going to have to pose a question to him. I think the autonomous agencies are claiming that it did not apply to them, but now that the Attorney General has made an opinion saying that the retroactive pay raise for GORA, which is also a autonomous agency that does not have any GovGuam budget allocation. If it covers covers them, then how about the autonomous agencies? Because I hear that a couple of agencies are claiming that they are not covered by that budget prohibition. And GORA actually is all federal money, as opposed to the port CCU with GWA and GPA. When they give salary increases up there and they increase their salaries and their operation costs, it is paid for by us, the ratepayers or the consumers, in a tax, as it were, on us. Whereas the GORA is completely federal. That really has no impact on us except the benefits that it provides to us. So that's going to be interesting. I'm going to ask that, get that clarification.
So, so you made the request though after your office discovered that there were personnel action forms that appeared to have effective dates retroactive to the date that the salary adjustments were authorized. So the AG comes out with this opinion. Would you say
we discovered that it was authorized in June to be effective in September, but it was also retroactive back to January. And his opinion says that it can go forward, but it can't go backwards. It can go forward after September 31st, after the FY19 prohibition against freeze salary meritorious increases in FY19, but it can't occur before that, and it can't be retroactive into the fiscal year that had a freeze.
Mm-hmm. So were these pay raises then paid out retroactively?
They were.
And they weren't supposed to be.
Yeah, according to his opinion, yes.
Mm-hmm. Will anything be done, or can anything be done about this, or?
That's up to him. I think, as he stated in his press release, once I make the request of the Office of the Attorney General, it's up to them. They can decide what they're going to do, though. They will opine and they will make a decision on whether or not they're going to do anything civilly, criminally, or whatever, or nothing.
I know that in the press release also it said that in November of last year, the AG's office, your office, you teamed up, right, and you're tackling misuse of public funds and work to increase transparency. And then it cited what happened with the CCU and the closed door talks and pay raises and bonus for certain employees, which violated the open government law. Has there been any other instances where you guys as a team have discovered any other misuse of public funds?
None that we have reported out lately.
Okay.
I'm not sure what's happening with a couple of the audits that we're doing, and we'll see when we complete the audits.
BJ, we do a lot of FOIAs, right? And so on this retroactive raise issue, could you kind of clarify? Because I see a lot of documents where it'll be, you get it from like DOA, right? And let's say it's like someone got an $11,000 raise or whatever, and it'll say something like effective date July 20th, but then the date of the transaction will be like September 10th or whatever. So does that count as like a retroactive raise, or is that just that it takes the paperwork so long to get all around everywhere?
It can. It's both. And if it's a classified employee, there's the Attorney General's opinion cites another code section that says that's okay if it's a classified employee. If it's an unclassified employee, ever since that law prohibiting retroactive pay raises, unclassified employees cannot get their meritorious salary increases retroactively.
So what would you make
unless there is a specific statute that grants authority for it?
And which would that be?
No, I mean it would have there would have to be some law that says except for, and since he found none in this case, then he found that the retroactive pay was violative of the law.
So I mean, this, I don't know if this is a legal question, but does it matter if it's retroactive for, you know, going back a year or for a few months?
If it's an unclassified employee from the meritorious pay raise issue that I talked about earlier, that Sabrina remembers, it went back. Remember, some agencies went back 15 years, others only went back 3. Yeah. Do you remember that, Sabrina?
Yes, it was a long time. And they were supposed to pay it back.
Not the employees. If they're classified, they never were. Those employees, the classifieds, were not asked to pay it back.
You know, while we're on the subject of unclassified hires, so is it okay for an unclassified employee to jump multiple steps? Like to go for like a, you know, an N6 to like an N20 or whatever, along with the relative increase in salary?
It all depends. And it could be just the fact that the appointing authority, whoever the director was, is making a decision to change the salary for certain individuals. It can. I mean, it could be raised as a question at civil service, but it's not something that I've looked at. But unclassified, they can just reclassify them as, well, I should have hired them at N20 rather than hired them at N1. That's the appointing authority's discretion.
So if you're an unclassified political hire, you can jump all around and get an increase in pay or whatever, as long as it's not retroactive?
Right. Unclassified, yeah.
Well, you guys got to start checking these documents, because a lot of these raises that we uncover, they are retroactive, and sometimes it'll be, you know, retroactive a month, 2 months.
Well, depending on whether that employee was hired as a classified or unclassified. I mean, was that a classified position?
Unclassified. I'm talking unclassified.
Oh, okay. Well, when and if that is posed to us, we will look at it. But if it's unclassified, then going forward, it's okay. the unclassified, they could jump from N1 to N20 tomorrow. And as long as starting tomorrow they're getting paid the N20 salary, that's fine. But going back to when they were hired in January, according to this most recent opinion, if they're unclassified, no, they shouldn't be. It shouldn't be retroactive unless there's a specific statute that approves it.
Right. So if an employee was hired in June, given a raise in July, and the paperwork said August, and it was retroactive to July, then that's a no-no.
If the promotion was approved on July, there would be an issue there of when the actual signing of the documents were. I'd have to look at it. I can't. I'd have to see all the documents first.
Right on. Okay. So what audits you got cooking?
Well, we started with the port. We're trying to get those out. Trying to do audits virtually is really, really, really difficult because constantly asking for documents and the lag time that's taken. It really just drags out what is a long process anyway, and a just horribly long process of waiting for responses. So we're trying to get out the port, the remainder of the port 7. We've been trying to get the follow-up audit on the cigarette tax, but unfortunately Revenue and Taxation has been really busy trying to get out, and I understand. They've had to get the all rise checks out and a whole bunch of other checks out, and income taxes, and so they finally provided my auditor some time for a walkthrough just this week, and so we're starting to get some field work done so that we can satisfy the GAGAS requirement for doing field work, and besides just virtually getting information.
What about this?
We're doing the COVID hotels, the quarantine hotels, trying to figure out the use of the money on what whether or not any analytics were done to determine how many rooms were necessary. Do we need 600 rooms when we only had 200, or now only 7? We'll see. We're trying to, and so we're getting all those documents together to try to put that out. We have some compliance audits that we're trying to get out. We issued one compliance audit just recently, and dementia's setting in, so I can't remember what it was now.
GAX.
Guahan
Academy Charter School.
Yeah. No, just some compliance audits, and so we have hopefully another compliance audit coming out on. It was a CCR that we just released, the citizen-centered reports, compliance audits, and hopefully in the next month we'll be able to issue a compliance report on audit on Senator Esteves' legislation that required all the agencies to have their standard operating procedure developed and posted on their website, which was a good piece of legislation because it's, for audits, it's imperative that we at least have something to guide ourselves when we're going in for an audit. We always want to know, do you have something written that we can look at to see whether or not that you're following your standard operating procedure? And if they don't have a SOP posted on their website, or they don't have one developed, then it makes it impossible to audit. That was the problem that we had with the first audit on the cigarette tax, that they were developing a SOP on how to collect the sin taxes, but they never got it in writing. And so it's really, everybody just kind of remembers this is the way that we did it and this is the way that we're doing it, but there's nothing that we can say, but you didn't comply with section so-and-so of your SOP. And so, yeah, we're trying to get everybody to get their SOPs up so that when we look at them, we know what the ruler is that we're supposed to be guiding ourselves against.
Well, so you're trying to get
Or
those
what rules.
SOPs in order, but it seems like it's a lot of SOS, huh?
Well, at least if they aren't complying with the SOP that's online, you can say you violated section such and such of your SOP. As opposed to going in and they just say, well, you need this, and they go, you need this and this and this, and they go, okay, and you come back and you provide this and this and this, and then they all of a sudden say, and you also need that and that and that, but that's not in your SOP. Well, that's something where that's violative of your SOP. So we're trying to get it so that it's easier for the citizens to go in and you to go in to say, is this in compliance with the SOP that you've provided? It doesn't sound like it.
Well, what about, so I know you're doing the CARES Act, you've come out with something on that, and then you're doing the quarantine hotels. What about audits on the Education Stabilization Fund and the ARP, those types of things? There's a lot of training.
We haven't started ARP yet. Because that money really still hasn't been all used. I mean, we probably should have done something earlier, but the ARP, they were waiting for guidance on how to use it. On the education stabilization funds, there will be some audit of that in the upcoming single audit that's being conducted now by the external auditors. And depending on what they say, what they find, we may decide that in calendar year 2022, we may include an audit of that also.
When you say the ESF and the audit, are we talking about how GDOE spent the ESF funds, or and also how Adelup spent it? Because there was that big chunk, and then some went to Adelup, and then some went to GDOE. Right.
And then so Adelup awarded. Well, they came out with the release was like August. In August, and they basically said that.
It's over like $39 million.
$39 million.
77 projects.
It was $39 million was awarded to 77 different. Was it all nonprofits, or it was not a combination?
Some mayor's offices,
right,
some government agencies. I think it was for different things.
Yeah. So which one are you talking about? All of it, right?
That may probably be an audit that we will conduct in calendar year 22. We're putting together our audit plan for next calendar year. So if you want to send me some topics, you're more than welcome to.
Okay.
Right on. Yeah. You know, you still have that tip line? Is there like a tip line?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And your app, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you guys want to snitch out any government corruption, I mean, please do. It's what's the number, BJ?
It's the same number, 4753-0390.
475-0390, and then they can also submit tips on the website.
They can go online to the hotline.
And BJ, just for the people out there, what type of tips are you looking for as an auditor?
Anything that involves government operations and expenditure of government funds. I keep trying to explain to people that we're not the ombudsman's office. You know, I have one complainant that keeps writing to me trying to get some deeds, and I'm like, I can't be your law firm. You're going to need to hire an attorney to.
I think we had that same visitor
to settle your to settle your fights between you and your siblings.
So, BJ, when you how many tips would you say you get, in I guess a month?
We get 3 or 4, and we have a hotline committee. Several of the auditors review whatever comes in online and what is called in, and we record it, and then the committee does investigations to determine. And then we're also required, when we get hotline tips, when we get tips, we have to report those tips if it involves a certain agency. Like if somebody calls in and they say that they believe this is happening at autonomous agency such and such, when I do the entrance conference for the financial audit for that autonomous agency, I will also tell the external auditors, I have received no tips, no hotline tips, or I have received X number of hotline tips, and these are the tips that I received regarding alleged fraud in your agency. I mean, in the agency that you're auditing. So they will look into it.
I wanted to
Also.
ask BJ, what about the pandemic unemployment assistance program? Is that something that just gets audited federally, or do you kind of take a look at that too?
I'm hoping that I mean, that's going to be, that's such a huge one. I really don't have the capability to be able to do that, because that audit is really going to need an agency that has a computer system with all the artificial intelligence and the robots in it to go in and look for the data and sort it all out. I unfortunately don't have that program here.
Right, but is it within your jurisdiction?
It could be within my jurisdiction. Yeah, I mean it is. It's just, I would rather hope that the federal government would do it, because they have the resources to be able to look at it. I mean, that involves what now? We're up to,
I think it's like 900 some million or a billion.
Almost $1 billion
Right,
in PUA.
Which, I mean, to me is crazy. That's, I mean, the bigger the money, the bigger the fraud. But what you're saying is that
Well, they've been finding some.
Yeah.
I don't. They've been doing somebody. They seem to have an internal auditor there that's catching some. I'm not sure how they're finding it, but they seem to have an internal audit group that's looking at stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but
And
we don't.
eventually there will be.
But I mean,
in my discussions with the federal government, there will come a time soon that they will be here to do some audits.
all right. So basically, what you're saying is that they've been auditing themselves, and that you don't have the technology to get into an audit at that level, because we're talking $1 billion, thousands of applicants. That being said, though, BJ, do we need to upgrade the Office of the Public Auditor so that you can be able to do those kind of audits? Because it's pretty huge. I mean, we're talking about $1 billion.
Yeah. I mean, it's an issue of one. I mean, I could buy the program right now. Unfortunately, it's just I'm going to need to also be able to figure out a way to hire someone with the capability of being able to work with the program that I purchase, because it's senseless to get a program that I have nobody that's going to be able to work with it. And those kinds of people, are six figures and some. I mean, I was blessed to listen to a program that was done by one of the EY auditors, and they had some guy from their Korea office. I think it was a Korea office, or was it just a young man who was trained at MIT, who was Korean, who was talking. I mean, I can barely turn on the computer, and he was just talking about all the robots, all the bots, and AI, and the technology of being able to send all these things and it'll call through all that information and come back to you with a report. I mean, or at least a breakdown, and say, well, we've looked at all of these, and all of these are the ones that we find that have some question.
Yeah. I mean, we only asked because the federal U.S. Department of Labor just came out with this glowing review of Department of Labor, not on Guam, in the CNMI, and they said, man, you guys did a bang up job with this. So it kind of made me wonder, like, where's the Guam rave review? And then I got to kind of thinking that DOL, they did an above step recruitment to hire Kathleen Pareto to run the PUA program. And so what we're looking at, judging from what you're saying, is that they've been auditing themselves. No one knows how to use the program but them. And that in order for us to do an audit, it's a very gargantuan task that we're not going to get around to anytime soon, and let's leave it to Uncle Sam.
It will. They will all be looked at some point, and fortunately or unfortunately, it will not be this office. Right. I just lost another one of my 3s last week. My senior people.
So where?
All I have now are I think I have like 8 1s and 2 2s and 3 3s.
Where are you losing your auditors to?
Well, this last senior person went to the NAVFAC.
Darn. All right. Well, good talk, BJ.
Okay.
Thanks, BJ.
Thank you.
I'll send you those documents. Maybe look them over and let me know.
Okay.
Thank you, Public Auditor.
Stay healthy.
All right. Yep. You been working out, BJ?
Yeah.
Right on. All right.
We got to pull up that commercial for Gold's Gym.
Yeah, we were talking about that before you came in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Jason always talks about it. It's one of his favorite commercials.
That's a classic part of Guam history. It's like If you guys have no
I wish
idea
you
what
would
we're talking
find
about,
it.
yeah, it's this panning up and you know like what was it from feet, panning up and so you see the feet and then
Yep.
it's like too old, can't do this anymore,
Right,
too
yeah.
slow, and then it's BJ there like just ripping the weights. Yeah, right.
Yep.
And I you know I am not being melodramatic. BJ at the time
For real.
shredded.
We gotta find that.
Now you're more
That was
like,
20 years ago, Jason.
Gotta find it.
well, we're gonna dig, okay?
And that's back when they had those really thin Gold's Gym shirts too, right? The ones that
The spaghetti
the
strap.
spaghetti strap.
Right on.
I still wear them.
Probably got like one on under his shirt.
Shoot, and Halloween was the other day.
Yeah. Okay, public auditor. Let's go before this starts to get frisky.
Yeah.
9:48. Yeah, guys, we're gonna take a break for sending FOIAs because we're gonna go look for this Gold's Gym commercial. 9:48. Let's take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back and wrap up the show with a little bit about the
The
Diwali.
Diwali festival,
Right.
yeah.
I love this thing. It's on the way right here on the link. Good morning.
Neil Armstrong. Learn about people and organizations making a difference in our community on the greater good every Wednesday during the link. Building awareness, promoting events, generating change.